Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today I have a special guest, Stefano Garrisi. He comes to us from a corporate world and he's also an amazing musician. Today we're going to talk about two sides of the bed, meaning there are always two sides to a story. But before we dig in, Stefano Garrisi, tell us more about yourself.
Well, thanks, Jen. And first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show today. We've been longtime friends, and this is super exciting. We get to have a little conversation, and I'm ready for this. So
Hey.
I hope everybody out there is ready. Yeah, Stefano Garrisi. I just want to give you kind of like we we're talking about two sides. That's kind of how I live my life. I've got the corporate side, to which Jen knows me, where I'm a corporate leader, a regional sales director for a large industrial packaging, Jansan, and food service packaging company that is actually global and nationally. And I lead a team to doing sales in that. And as far as from a music standpoint, I've been singing and dancing all my life. And most recently, we'll even fast forward to 30 years ago, is when I started writing my first original song. And I wrote and produced many albums and did many shows locally and around town and had a great time. And then kind of got domesticated and switched gears for a little while and had a family and got married. And now, we come to today's world, and I'm now writing and producing some new music. And now that we can stream things, which is really exciting, I can bring the old music up to date as well as, talk about some of the new stuff as well. And we're working on some new material as we speak. So excited to be here. And yeah, thank you. Thanks again for having me.
That is amazing. We are excited to have you. Um, so tell me, when I say to our viewer two sides of the bed, what do you want them to think about when they hear two sides of the bed?
So I think what we're trying to get to is there's always two sides of the story. There's two feelings. There's two hearts, one on each side, the male and the female, traditionally speaking. And I think that they have two different perspectives of what works in a relationship and what doesn't work, and getting different people's perspective and understanding what they want and they don't want out of life or out of their love life. And is extremely important, because understanding your partner is really an opportunity to find happiness and to live a long life, healthy and fun life together. So that's what I think. That's what we're talking about. So it's right up my alley. So
That is amazing. That is amazing. I think we had conversations about this for a long time. We wanted to do this like over years ago. We say we got to sit down. We had a title. We say we're going to do this, but we finally are here. And some of the questions that I have asked people, if we were to sit down, what are some of the questions that you do not dare ask anybody about a relationship question, marital questions that you are like, well, I don't dare ask anybody about this, but I wish somebody can answer these questions for me. Some of the questions that I got is, do women become irrelevant at some point in a relationship?
well, I would say depending on your perspective, I know a lot of women can be self-conscious in themselves, and how their partner's feeling for them, and kind of there's a lot of emotions there. And I would say, they might feel that way, and sometimes it isn't that way. But I think a lot of things will make them feel that way, as far as the attention they're getting from their partner. Are they looking sexy enough? Are they giving the love they need to be giving? Are they able to have the energy to hold up that relationship in a positive manner and be excitable still, no matter what age you are? So I think it's just that kind of plays on their mind, and am I going to be that exciting partner that my boyfriend or husband or significant other is looking for? So I think that's kind of where that irrelevance comes from. It's more of a mental thing, but it's very real, right? It's very real, and a lot of people are self-conscious on both ends. So
I see. I when I've asked people around about this question, they were like, but do why does just this just applies to women? not actually men. And women are feeling irrelevant, but men are feeling like, we're still at the same place that we were like 20 years ago, but women are feeling, but it's almost like everything else is happening to you, like, and you're feeling like you're not enough. You're not that beautiful face, that young person that this guy was used to. And I've also noticed that it's starting to be a trend out there. People are talking about this more and more. I even seen on Facebook, there's one of a well-known guy who posted something and said that women become even more irrelevant with the more kids that they have, the more that you cannot count on them, which is not totally wrong. I see it makes you laugh. Come on, help me out.
I think that's crazy because first off, I think going back to when we were talking about feeling irrelevant, I think it does. I think the males do feel that as well too. I think that's the age old stigma that it's only women that are self conscious, but really men. I think in today's day and age, men are very self about the way they look, about how they might perform, how get women. I think that's definitely something that they could be just self-conscious as well. And I think from that perspective, I think it's just how can their partner help them feel confident in themselves, just the same. So I don't from used to be, and men confident.
Yeah, because it was offensive to a lot of people, but at the same time, the more the women with the more kids in the family, now your attention, you cannot give your unattended attention to the husband. Now you have kids. Now you have more kids that you have to give your attention to. So it does, I believe. But if when people are in a relationship of understanding, instead of saying that the wife has to do all of these things, how about helping her? Did you feel
Right.
yeah, do you
Yeah.
feel like that would help in a relationship and make a relationship even better if both are helping each other?
I think so. And again, the stigma of a woman and being different. And yes, your body goes through changes, your personality goes through changes. I mean, at that time, your whole life changes, because ultimately, as a married couple or two people that are partners in a family, they really should be first, right? That's the whole part of life, is that you sacrifice yourself to children, and making sure that their health, that they're taken care of, that they're nurtured, that you're teaching and mentoring them in life. So certainly your time well spent on them as opposed to yourself. But I think it's important to that you can kind of dynamic around by really just asking yourself, am I taking care of myself? Are we planning some date nights? Are we trying to spice it up and keep things fresh? Whether it be in the bedroom or in when you're dating and stuff like that, going to new places, trying time, much time as you used to have when you were having the family. But I think there's opportunity to find those pockets of really quality time with partner, making sure that they know that you still care, and that even though the children are the number one priority, they're still there. You still love them. You still care about them. You still want to have fun with them, and keeping that exciting in life. So I think that's important.
I see what you're saying. I agree. Children can still be first, but and then we do matter as well. Yeah, but
Absolutely.
yeah, a lot of people are not able to navigate that. I feel like it's hard for a lot of women to navigate that, and the husband get left on the side. And again, there's two sides to the story. If you were to help the other person, maybe the story would be different. Um, how about forgiveness, Steve? Is forgiveness necessary in a relationship?
Absolutely. I think compromise is really necessary in a relationship, and I think that's part of the secret sauce, or one of the key things. And communication is really important, and that kind of comes into that as far as forgiveness. And that is, taking a step back, taking a breath, and saying, who's wrong, who's right. And sometimes it doesn't matter. And sometimes you have to evaluate, was it really worth getting angry over? Was it really worth getting upset over? Because life is too short, and the things that matter, sometimes we forget. And if you take a deep breath with anything and don't let your emotions take over, sometimes you make a better decision. But I think that's being able to compromise, being able to surrender once in a while, and being able to definitely have that open line of communication. Because if you're not communicating with your partner, then certainly you're going to miss the boat on where the needs are and where the emotions are at. So I think that's, just be open, be honest, and making sure that you're transparent with each other. And if you have to pull each other aside, if you don't want to talk in front of the children, if you don't want to talk in front of your friends, then certainly, make that time for each other to communicate about what's working and what's not, or what your likes and dislikes are, and how things are going, and checking in. I think it's important for that mental stability and that relationship, to make sure that you're checking in and not just being assuming, as they say, that the relationship is wonderful on your end, and not really checking in with your partner and saying, is everything okay? What should we be doing? How are you feeling? And that type of thing. I think that's really important.
Wow. So you said something that I literally never thought about, checking in. Basically, it's almost like when you're working, we have tendency in the corporate world to do check-in to see how we're doing. Did you get this? Are you doing this with the numbers, with everything? Your sales goals, this. So you checking in. There is something that you're comparing yourself to, or how you're doing. But in marriages and relationship, we do fail to do that. We're not checking in. We're not checking in with the other person and saying, hey, how are we doing? How are you doing? How am I doing? Because to us, it's just this thing that we just jump in, and it just should work itself out.
Yeah, and I hate to compare like work to home life, but there is some symmetries and there's some similarities, and I've kind of take some of the
What?
best practices that I've learned in leadership, as
Yeah.
far as, you're still dealing with people,
Yes.
and you and your partner are human beings, and so are your coworkers and people that you work with in a company. So certainly people are people, and you have to make sure you're being respectful, that you're still, communicating openly, and that you're doing your best to keep the relationship going, professionally or personally. So I think that's always a key, you know, a key marker, is to make sure you are checking in and being empathetic and sympathetic to certain issues and to people's feelings.
That is amazing. So I do have another question for you, Steve. Another discussion point will be, how important is healing before entering into a relationship? You know how most of the time there's two sides to the bed. Everybody is bringing their past. Everybody's bringing their past issues, their past problems, everything they've dealt with in their lives. And then now two people are together and they're trying to make a living. So should we think about healing certain things before we get together? Or is it okay to start healing in the relationship?
Yeah, I think it's important to get your mental state really in check first before getting into a long-standing relationship. And I think it'll make that relationship even healthier by making sure that you've kind of, made sure that your relationship in the past, you've tried to clear your mind, clear your feelings, your heart. And it's okay to vent, and it's okay to share your experiences with your current partner. But I think it's important, before you dive into something more seriously and long term, that you do make sure you release any of those old feelings, because the last thing you want to do is not be in a good mental space at that point, and trying to go the distance with somebody that really doesn't want to hear a lot about your past, or maybe doesn't want to be in the middle of your past. And if you haven't let go of those feelings or that person mentally, how can you give yourself in total, mentally, physically, to your new partner, if the other relationship isn't you know dissipated?
I see. Well, I also feel like sometimes people fail to do that, to think about those before they get into a relationship. So, what advice do you have for people that find themselves in a relationship and now old wounds are coming up, old things are coming up?
Well, first I would say, or start with, don't rush into anything. There's no race when it comes to relationships, when it comes to commitments and things like that. So people get, kind of caught up in my friends doing this, or this is what my cousin's doing, and this is what that they're doing, and my
Very
siblings
cool.
doing. So there is no trend or race to I think the key thing is understanding emotionally, where am I at
Yeah.
first and foremost, and am I in a good place to start something new and to give myself to somebody in mentally. And if you're not, it's okay to take your time. And I think that's a big miss that people have, is it's like, okay, I got a relationship, I really need someone. Take your time and get to know that person, both, so you get to know their likes and dislikes, their background and their personality. And sometimes time heals all. And the more time sometimes you have with someone, you get to uncover new things. So when you rush into something or rush into a relationship, you're typically not going to know a ton about that person. And I think that you'll be doing yourself a disservice. And really, I think, it may not be as lasting until you know all the ins and outs, because you may see something you like that you didn't know before, or something you dislike that maybe you're not ready to settle down with that person because of certain things that you saw. So
See, that is amazing that you are saying that, because usually relationships don't just fail. They're just, it starts by neglect, pride, all kind of thing that starts, it happens in silence. It doesn't just show up in one day. It's because a lot of things were building up and somebody was not communicating about it. Somebody was not talking about it. Somebody was silent about it. And at some point it just become a big blowout, and people don't know how to go back and then rebuild this relationship that they had before. So how do you even build a relationship that now has gotten there where we don't even know what to do anymore? We just don't. Sometimes couple even get to a stage where they're not even talking much anymore, and they don't know how to get back together and get that spark going. So how do you even get there?
So I think first you have to have some trust. Once you've gotten past we're both mentally in a good place, then I think it's understanding that trust and making sure you understand each other's boundaries, what you like and what you don't like, and what's going to work and not work. And certainly to play to the what you like and try to serve that person, to try to delight that person, to try to just love that person unconditionally, and look for the things that they really do um, like, and really emphasize on. I really want to treat you. I really want to surprise you. I really want to wow you. And I think if you can tailor to the things they like, make them feel comfortable, make them feel loved, make them feel trusted, ingredients to keep the relationship going. And then it's just a matter from time to time, as we talk about the check-ins, or we talk about keeping things fresh, making sure that you are building upon that and not doing the same thing. If you were to go to the movies every weekend, or go to the same restaurant every weekend, or go, walk in the same park every weekend, at some point that's going to become just status quo. That's just going to become boring. That's just going to become the same old, same old. So you have to make sure that you're really diversifying in what you're doing, and the things you're doing, and how you're speaking and acting, and making it interesting from time to time. That'll keep the flame going for sure.
Wow. So far I have heard communicate to like help. Some of the key points that you are talking about to help in a relationship is communicate, listen, check in often, love, trust. And it's so easy sometimes to know that you're supposed to do that. But is there, do we need mentorship in marriage? Do we need to have like a mentor? Do we need somebody who remind us these things? Because you might know the right thing, but you might forget.
Yeah, I think it's okay to have, whether it be a parent, whether it be a relative, whether it be a sibling, even. And I think, in doing that, you're also discovering things too, like, what's working, what's not, because not everybody's cut the same. And sometimes things that may have worked for your parents, or may have worked for one of your siblings, doesn't work for you. So you have to kind of identify, internally, who am I? What do I need out of life? What do I need out of this relationship? And the same, from your partner as well. And once you identify that, you can kind of work towards those strengths. But Yeah, definitely a mentor, I would say, is not a bad thing. And I think indirectly we have mentors that we don't even know we have, because we take on traits from, people within our family and stuff like that we didn't even know, the good and the bad. So it's really just to understand kind of how that works into your relationship.
I like that you say the good and the bad. I always tell my friends, do not bring anybody into your marriage who's actually telling you all the time you need to leave, who's telling you, giving you this bad advice. Because it's so easy to tell somebody, if it's not working, just get out of there. It's so easy. Instead of trying to find a resolution to the problem, most people are going to be, if this person is doing this to you, do not stay. No, 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 you do not deserve this. But that's not a way you do work. And you are right. We do have people, silent mentors that you do not think you have, but yes, some are bad and some are good, and you need to know who's actually helping you throughout your relationship, your marriage, instead of just going to the people that are not gonna, when you're very stressed, they're just gonna tell you just get out of it. And nobody ever said a marriage is it's easy. Nobody's ever said that. Anybody who's ever gotten to that will not tell you that it's an easy ride.
Yeah, and I think too is a lot of people forget one of the more difficult things I've seen from probably women and men is the ability to withdraw or to get out. And
Mhm.
if you're seeing some red flags, if you're seeing, some challenges, or if there's something that's not working, it's okay to stop or back up a minute and take a moment. Because I think if you're, people rarely change. They may tweak a little bit, but you know the old saying, you're born round, you can't die square. Most people are who they are, and these are the things why it's so important to communicate on a regular basis and get an understanding of who that person is before jumping into something seriously, because then you're not going to be able to change them, everything about them. And they may alter, they may sway from time to time, but it's not going to be a completely different person. That's what you're getting in a relationship. What you see is what you get, and you have to work through that. But it's okay to withdraw or to back up or to get out of a relationship if it's not healthy for you. That's probably one of the hardest thing that people feel insecure. Like, can I find somebody else? Or maybe it's me, or maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should do that. And I think it's okay. Like, I think the best thing is you got to make yourself happy. You got to feel good about the relationship day in and day out, and work towards something and build on something, and not just settle, if you will, and say I'm having pain, I'm having anguish, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, and I continue on that path. It's not good. It's not good. And then it becomes almost like abuse, right? That if
Very
you
true.
if you continue on that path, it's just abuse, and you're just going along with it, and it's not healthy. So I would say definitely make sure that you're doing what you need to be successful in that relationship, and it is okay to stop or to back up if need be.
Yeah, very true. Abuse is not okay. You feel like you're being abused, you know what to do about that. I've at church we've always said, when you find a partner that you are praying together, it's going to make things so much easier. But sometimes not everybody wants to pray together. Some people want to pray at different times, some people want to pray alone. But and then we talked about when people do pray together, make things easier. But the church doesn't usually talk about what you and I are sitting down right now and talk about, because we try to make these things taboo, but they're already given. We can make sex as much taboo as we want, but that's what's going on in the bedroom, right? So there's no going about it, there's no going around about it. So most of the time, I have noticed people coming to church broken in their relationship, looking for God and not being able to talk to anybody, saying something is wrong. Or some women coming and not being able to say to somebody, my husband is not having sex with me and I need my husband. Because to women sometimes it's like a shame to talk about, I'm not getting enough or I'm getting more and this is happening. So I don't, there's not a right or wrong answer to that of, meaning how many times are you supposed to be with your wife, how many times are you supposed to be. So I'm bringing you into something that I'm saying, tell us what in your marriage, what are some of your expectations? What do you expect from your wife?
um every week, every day. No, no. I would say, certainly men and women have their needs and their wants, and everybody's got a different cadence of what they can do, or would like to do. And I think it's important to understand that, people have feelings, and, they have the day-to-day grind. So women are working hard every day, men are working hard every day. And sometimes, you can come home and you're like, I'm not in the mood, or I'm just so drained mentally and physically that I can't really get into it. I would say, again, always trying to make that date time, to set aside that time and take a breather, take a break, take a little vacation, and making sure that you're having time to reconnect with your partner. Because just working and just being tired and taking sex out of the equation may be a deal breaker for a lot of people. And maybe that's part of what hurts a lot of relationships. They talk about financial things are important in relationships. Religion, is important in relationships. Well-being and your sex life really is important. And if you're not connecting with that person mentally and physically, sometimes that's a deal breaker, and that could be a relationship breaker as well too. So it's really important to find those key moments to say, okay, maybe the expectation isn't every week, but can we find some time, whether it's putting the kids to bed, whether it's going in, go into, whether it be going to a hotel, going on vacation, just spice it up a little bit, and making sure that you're actively engaging. And going back to the communication, is having those talks of what is it that you need and what is it that you want. I mean, obviously, again, we can't it's a compromise. You can't have it all your way, and it can't be all her way. But
Yeah.
I think as long as you come to that agreement, as far as what's a comfortable space and a comfortable connecting point, that's what's going to be helpful, and you get to learn about each other too. But making sure that does stay fresh, because I know that's a big point for everyone. And again, that's you get married, you have fun, and that's a good part of it for sure. That's a bonus. So
Yes, very true, Steve. What you're saying is, when you look at the number one causes of divorce in the US and throughout the world, it's going to be sex and money. Those are the number two that people don't know how to manage. They don't know how to manage their money together. They don't know how to manage the sex life, because maybe your husband has a certain drive, a certain needs that you feel like, no, I don't have to do anything about it. Maybe in the beginning you were okay with it, and maybe you were not. Maybe it's the woman that's wanting more than the husband can give, and then, like you say, it's a compromise. It's a compromise, but and then when there is on marriage, we're talking about marriage, and then not even saying relationship, and we're circling around marriage because that's the right way to do things. When you are not receiving what you should talk, check in. Hey, am I being the wife that you need me to be? Am I being the husband that you need me to be? It is very important that we check in. I really love that you said that we have to check in, and because I myself never thought about checking in. We just go on with life. We don't just stop and say, hey, how am I doing? Am I the wife, still the wife that you married? No, you just go on, right?
100%, 100%. And I think that it's a matter of respect too. People think that it's just hormones, but it's respect too for that person, is respecting, hey, what they've went through day to day, or what their needs are. And it's just that mutual respect to make sure that you have that open line of communication, that you're getting what you want out of the relationship. And typically, if you've exceeded all different avenues and it's not working, well, sometimes it's not meant to be. But if you can, and you really try, and you really respect that person and you love that person, then you're going to take the time to make it work, and make them happy as well too, on both ends. So
Well, how about if a couple find themselves in the room where now there were no communication, there were no check-ins, there were no nothing. Their relationship is broken, but they still love each other. How do you go about finding the space that you were in before?
they broke up and they're in love still.
Yeah, they don't know how to get back together now.
So I think it goes back to the communication piece. I think sometimes one might be shy away from how do I start the conversation? How do I get back in the conversation or get back in the relationship? And really, it's as simple as let's go have a cup of coffee. Let's go have dinner together. Let's find something that we found a spark in before in our relationship and bring it to the forefront and just have that open line of communication of where they at, how they feeling. And if that's the case, it's kind of revisiting, is there going to be another opportunity for us to make another go at this, or is it not in the cards? And it's okay if it's not, but if you truly love each other and you can talk it through, I think just being in more of an intimate, private setting as opposed to a busy setting, that it's just to connect with that person and say, this is how I'm feeling. Well, how are you feeling? And having that open line of discussion, I think you can come to a lot of, you can build a lot off of that. And I think someone will be open. If they truly love you, they're going to be open with where their feelings are and where they need to go from there.
Yeah, to try again and sit down and say, what can we do? I agree. If you don't know where to go, but you still living with each other, you got to make an effort to try to rebuild what is broken, probably. And I believe that you are so right. Most of the time in marriages, when there's a lack of communication, the whole thing come crumbling, and you don't even know how to build it back up because
Yeah.
everyone has
In
learned
my,
to
in
do
my
it.
case, when I'm heartbroken or in love, I just write about it. So that's I
You
just
just
write a
write
song
about
about
it.
it.
Oh, song?
It's a
You just
good
put
it's a good therapy. It's a good therapy.
Oh, I see. So go back to something that can give you that sense of relief. Oh, I see. Well, for me, it's prayer. For me, it's the things of probably reading the Bible. For me, it's connecting with the church. I see. So go back to something that would make you, because you will be heartbroken. I like that you say that. In
Yeah,
yeah.
nobody's indestructible, no matter how tough they look, or everybody's been heartbroken at some point over
Wow.
something or
Wow.
someone. And I think it's just reconnecting with someone or another situation. But some people handle their emotions differently, and it is
Yeah.
good. Whatever therapy you need, if that's talking with a friend, talking with a family member, talking to a therapist, or like you said, reading the Bible, or writing poems, or writing songs, playing an instrument, go jogging, go working out, however you release, that stress, or that emotion, I think is completely okay. Everybody's got a different way of handling it, and their own therapy, and that's why I got into the kind of entertainment and music itself, is because music can be therapeutic as well. And I think just listening to it, and I make music that's relatable to people, and that's what I like to, if I can help someone, or they can listen to one of my songs and say, hey, I'm going through that too, or that makes me feel a certain way, I think
Mhm.
that's therapy in itself. So I've got over a lot of emotions by just listening to some of my favorite artists and songs, and it just puts you in a different space, happy or sad. So
Wow. So let me ask you this. How would you want a woman to approach you, your wife to approach you when something is not working out? Let's say I'm not getting the attention that I want. I'm not getting, when I talk to you, not listening. Because women talk a lot. We have a tendency to talk more
mhm.
than men. So maybe the woman is talking so much in your ears or something and you're not listening. What is the best way to approach that with a man?
Well, for me, I think it's really just upfront. Me and my wife are very direct with each other. We rarely hold anything back, so we're vocal with each other. And I recognize not everybody's like that, and sometimes you'll be reserved. But I think it's always taking a moment and to kind of settle in, because whether you're overly sad and or upset about something, or angry about something, that you don't want to be impulsive, and sometimes people say things they don't mean if they just come off of that anger. So I think it's taking a breath. Hey, maybe I put on a show, and then wait a few minutes, give it some time, and then have a conversation. But I think always being upfront and open is much more than being withdrawn or guessing what the other person's thinking, or trying to feel their emotions for them, or assume what they mean, because a lot of times you discover things that you didn't know, and you're like, wow, I didn't know you felt that way.
Yeah.
So I think open, honest communication and being upfront, um, it would be the absolute best way, in my opinion, to get your emotions out.
Very true. Because perception is reality. You cannot ask somebody not to feel a certain way. You cannot tell somebody, oh, because I feel this way, you should also feel that way. And I think that's what even most of the time, even in the church setting, people disconnect because you want people to feel the way you want. But actually, those are your feelings, those belong to you. You cannot ask me to feel the way you feel. So if
Hmm.
you cannot understand my feeling, ask me questions and I'll tell you about it. I
Right.
love it. I love it. So well, you said that sometimes you've like written music about some of these things. Tell the audience some of the music that they can go. Give us a specific title. I'm gonna drop later on a link to your YouTube channel, and then but give us some title that they can go to if they need to listen to something to connect to a moment where you are like in a moment where you're like, I need to work this thing out.
Yeah, so a lot of various music. It's got a lot of themes to it. You're gonna hear some Latin themes. You're gonna see some pop themes, dance,
Oh,
rap. Not so much rap, but rock, R&B, that type of thing. And really, it's I think like a song like "Goodbye" is really meaningful. I think if you look at maybe "Tomorrow," if you look at whatever it takes. I mean, there's a lot of love songs, in different circumstances, from that record, or for many of the records that I did. And then there's some that are more fun and lighthearted, and they also are related to relationships, but just in a different way. It may have been you got played by someone, or
somebody played you before. Come on, tell us about that.
I think Crazy Love is an interesting track, that
Mhm.
is a little spin on that, where, you thought a relationship was going somewhere and it wasn't happening that way.
Tell
And
us about that. You got played before? Tell us about that.
I wouldn't say played, but I think this the song really relates to, hey, I think, from a physical standpoint, it looks like this girl likes me and looks like things are happening in this way. And then, boom, when behind the scenes, you have a boyfriend, or, and, you maybe not as interested. You just were looking for a good club night, or a good fling. And sometimes for a guy, just like it is for a girl, like, you want more of a relationship, or you want more than just that, than just a fun night. And sometimes, so sometimes it is real, it flips on both sides. So that's kind of what Crazy Love is about, if you listen to it. So
That is amazing. How about Come With Me? Tell me a little more about Come With Me. I'm
come
not
with
play it.
come with me is, typically is actually the even though it's got a great opening to it, it's actually the closer. Yeah, it's actually what we do in our encore and our finales to many of the shows, because it keeps everybody in the good spirits, and it ends on a big note. And it's just, taking somebody away to, it says, come with me, and I want to take you to that place where you need to be. And really just enjoying life. It's kind of like a celebration of life, and having some fun together. And a lot of people like that. It's a catchy tune, and it's got some Latin flavor to it. And if I mostly get asked when it comes to those type of songs is climax, which I'm not going to get into what that means, but it's pretty
That
self.
was no, we need to get into that. That was gonna be my next. That's the one question I have. I
If you
want more
listen,
about climax.
if you listen to
Let's actually
climax,
go there.
if you listen to climax, I would always say it's pretty self-explanatory. So you listen to it, there's nothing more to say about it. So.
So Stefano, as I know him, has never been a shy person. He is not shy, but he just went shy on us and didn't want to go too much into that. But not that you went shy, you never shy. You will never be a shy person either. But you didn't want to explain it to us.
Yeah, again, if you listen to it, it's pretty self-explanatory. One song that kind of had a story to it, like, "Tropical Dream." So, "Tropical Dream" is a very popular song, both live and from a listening aspect. That it's one of my number one streaming songs, actually. And that was really the derivative of when I was in the construction industry back in the day. We go on these fancy trips because you were top builder of the year, and you go with your family and you head out to on these great cruises and great resorts. And we were heading to Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, actually. And the owner of the lumber company who supports and sponsors these trips had a daughter that was on there, and it was at the trip. And you're young, young guy then, and see her from a distance. She's in the stands, got blue eyes, blonde hair, beautiful, and you're kind of thinking like, what could this be? And then you start, introducing yourself and spending some time on the trip, and then you start getting thoughts in your head like, wow, this is, and that's really what Tropical Dream is. It's more of a fantasy, like not of anything that actually happened, but what could have happened or what you would like to happen, but it didn't nothing happened.
Okay. So you're telling us some of the things didn't happen, okay?
But really, that's what it is. I mean, sometimes you do, right? I mean, you can be at a club, you can be on vacation, you can be at the gym, and you see someone that's extremely attractive, and vice versa, and you have that connection, but nothing ever comes of it. But it's like what could be, or where my fantasy is going, and that's kind of what Tropical Dream is about. So I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that one. So
Yeah. Especially men. Men are more like, when what they see is what work for them. With women, it's more like how you communicate to me. I want to hear it. I want to know it, and then different things like that. So definitely two sides to the way things are being taken care of. The way um, we sometimes want to be taken care of is different than how the men's want to be taken care of. I truly believe that most of the time with man, you're just they're thinking about more sex than anything, right?
of course, it's human nature. But believe it or not, it's on the other side too. I think more than people know is that women have needs too, and they have wants, and it's very similar to what men are looking for. Just sometimes the stigma, that we're typecast all the time. That's always a manly thing, but I think it could be on both sides. And at the end of the day, it's just being respectful too, right? You can all have fun thoughts and so forth, but it's just being respectful and knowing where the boundaries are and what the other person's into, right? So
That's amazing. Well, in conclusion, Stefano, what would you tell the guests, whether they're in a rocky relationship when they're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go. We've learned some things from you. You've talked about communication is important, check in often, listen, be respectful, trust the person. Trust is really important, and learn to compromise. So, is there anything else that you want our viewers to take that can help them in their relationship?
I would say always be selfish in a sense, to think of yourself first. What is going to make your well-being healthy? What is going to make you be the best version of yourself? And if that is, making sure you're checking in, that before getting into relationship, you take your time, that you get some full understanding of who that other person is, and making sure that you understand that, what the likes and dislikes you have, and they correlate. Make sure that it's okay to retreat. It's okay to, take a pause and to check in with yourself as well as that person as to where this relationship is going. And communication, over communicate. I think that's really important, because you never know unless you're open and honest with that person of where you want the relationship to go, and making sure you're on the same page. So never, be open. Don't be shy. Don't hold your emotions and your feelings in. Make sure you're expressing them at every turn. And I think that things will go a lot smoother.
That is amazing. Thank you for that. So, if the viewers want to find you, how do they find you?
So I'm kind of all over, kind of all over the map. Obviously, I have a Facebook page that's based off of Stefano Garrisi, my name, and you have, TikTok, which is Stefano G Music, and you've got Instagram that is Stefano G Music, and then you'll see on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music.
That's awesome.
YouTube, that's under my name, Stefano Garrisi. We've got all the songs out there. We've got 16 of the old ones, what we call the best of, if you will, the best. And then I just released recently a brand new single that's going to be from the forthcoming album, and that's called "Not This Time." And that's a really cool synth song, pop song with a great rock and guitar solo at the end, and that's also really relatable too. That I think people enjoy. So whether you like new or old, we've got lots of different themes. I would say listen to them, check it out there, and whether you're working out, whether you're in a relationship, whether you want to dance to it, whether you want to do some chores to it, or your daily job, or you're driving somewhere, you want to bump it in the car. We got something for everybody on those songs. So I really hope you enjoy it, and there'll be more to come. Got a lot of great things planned within the new year. So there's going to be some more interviews, more podcasts. There's going to be some new. I think there's a write-up coming up in the Oakland Press and Macomb Daily, and there's the Michigan Music Awards, to which I got nominated for Best Pop Album, which I'm very excited about for my album, The Best. So it's really, really exciting times, and I'm just excited to share my feelings and my talents and music with the world. So it's really cool.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for everything that you have given to the viewer as far as relationship, as far as your music, because there are different type of music that you have. Anybody can connect to the type of music that you have. So I'm glad that there's more coming. And congratulations for your nomination. And I want to hear more about it. I want to hear more about it. And thank you so much again for being here. I am going to play Come With Me. And on that note, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks everybody. That's love. Thank you.